So I'm back again to talk about something really important with my coach, Snezana. And Snezana, it's great to see you again.
It's good to see you too, Peter. How are you?
I'm good, and you look really relaxed. You look really happy as usual.
Thank
I've
you.
been on vacation. How was it?
Oh, I think for the first time in a long time, I really had a vacation. I slept a lot. I didn't do much. I just read books, walked around, explored the place, and just yeah, spent a lot of time relaxed, truly relaxing. Like not usually I spend my vacations exploring the cities or, running around, and then you mentally I'm rested, but physically I need another vacation. This time it was both mental and physical break, and it truly made a difference.
Well, I'm super jealous. I'm going off for a short break for a couple of weeks, in a couple of days. And today I'm starting with that because I want to talk about something that has come up through conversations that I've been having and thoughts that I've had myself also, how to manage business, how to manage being a good parent, and how to manage being a good partner and a spouse. And I want to draw on your experience today as a coach, as a certified coach, as an expert coaching people in these three areas, how to work and approach them in different ways and with different appreciations for what they are. So let's start off with just understanding those three roles. Do you agree that it's worth looking at them differently, or do you come from the school that you should look at them all together?
For a long time, I thought business is business, personal is personal, and they should be clearly separated. However, the more I talk to people over the course of the past few years, the more I learned that you can't really separate them. You don't, it's not like you go home and you never think about what you did at work, no matter whether you're running your own business or just working somewhere. Or you're at work and you just don't think about family, you don't think about what's going on at home. If you have a sick child, your mind is going to be with the child. I mean, you're going to do your work, you're going to be productive and effective, but you're still going to be thinking about it. So I'm more of a thought that we need to look at a person as a whole. And if that person has a family, if that person is a parent, a partner, a business person, then that's who they are. They take on different roles, and different roles have their own time and space, but overall they're one person, one whole.
So one entity, one person, but three very different roles that require different skills, that require different levels of development. And I think just like your career, they have different paths. For me, I can talk from experience. It took me a while to become a really good father, I believe. It was something that I had to learn. And I'm still trying to become a really good partner or spouse to my wife. And the skills there are different. The way I think about it's the same person, but I'm actually thinking about different skills. And in business, again, I'm working on different roles. How do you find harmony? And how do you find a framework to develop and become better at those three things, even though they're very different and you might be at different points?
Mm. I a couple of years ago, I got a really good piece of advice from a person who's actually a therapist, a neurotherapist of it all. And she said, you know what? You can't focus on one thing and one thing only. Life happens in parallel. So if you do only one thing, the other things don't stop. So if you focus on your work, life still happens, your family still happens, your partner is still around, but we can't focus on everything at all times. So it is good to have a focus, but just be aware that other things happen. So it's okay to, build your business, but you still have to be with your family. Or it's okay to be a dedicated mother, father, partner, but you still have a job to do. So just being mindful of what takes priority at each time. So yes, it's different roles, it's different perspectives, also different communication levels, different growth levels. But we need to be mindful of which one takes priority at what times. Not everything is going to be important at all times, but also not everything should be neglected at all times. So, having your clear focus, but also being mindful of who else is there or what else is there. Does
So
that answer your question?
yeah, I guess what I'm hearing is that it's important to understand these three areas, and trying to build some type of structure around how you operate in them, how much time you give each one of them, and understanding that you have to do different things and be different in your approach, across these three areas. I can't necessarily talk to my spouse in the same way that I talk to business relationships. The negotiation I do here can't be the negotiation that I do, and it definitely can't be the negotiation that I have with my kids. Although those skills together form the same person, it's an appreciation that they're different and there's different nodes that we have to switch into. Would you agree?
Yeah, you got it right. Absolutely. Although I would say that you can use some skills, especially when it comes to negotiation from the business to home. I would definitely encourage playing around. I think we all need to understand how we work, first of all, as people. Me as a person, what do I like? How do I function? What are my triggers? And then the more we understand ourselves, the easier it's going to be to communicate with other people, be it business relationships or personal relationships. But you absolutely got it right. Everything has their own time and space. The communication is going to be different, although it may overlap. You can't really completely 100% separate anything, nor should you. It's just, I think, we need to understand and be mindful of when is the right time for what type of conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let me unpack on that. When is the right time? And how do I, as someone, as a professional, as a CEO, as an aspirational leader, stand back and take that? Where does that fit in? Do I have to switch between nodes? Is there a framework? Is it meditation, reflection, or is it the process of coaching that helps me realize what I'm doing wrong so I can adjust what I'm doing right?
Well, I would say all of it, to be honest. A little bit of meditation, breathing. I think meditation, some people are taken back when they hear the word, they always think about this like Zen practice, strange, weird, just breathing, if nothing else. But let's say, you've had a rough day at work and you're coming home and your kids are excited to see you, your wife is there, she's waiting, to give over the responsibilities, and all you want to do is just ignore everybody. That's where we need to learn how to find that balance. That's where we need to learn how to communicate. I think a usual setting would be to just be grumpy and kind of wait and go to bed. A more maybe evolved or experienced way would be to say, hey, I've had a very rough day at work. I may not be at my best. Can we, postpone difficult conversations or important conversations? Can I have a time for myself, or can we just watch a movie? Whatever feels good at that moment, but communicating it. So saying it to the partner, maybe the kids, depending on how big they are, they may or may not understand. But assessing the situation and acting accordingly. That would be, it takes a lot of practice for that, but I know people who are able to actually communicate their needs, even at times when they're under stress or they're overwhelmed, upset, so with kind of heightened emotions. But you can't always step back. So it's okay to bring in the worries, it's okay to bring in the concerns, but it's also okay to bring in the wins. So when good things happen, you bring them in, you celebrate together, just like they're there to support, and vice versa. It's okay to build a professional relationship where you can say, hey, my family's not doing well. I'm gonna need a couple of days to spend with them, or I may not be my 100% today at work because things are happening at home. That's a healthy way to communicate on a personal and professional level. And I saw you got excited about something. I hope I didn't interrupt that thought.
No, no, not at all. I think it's interesting because a lot of the things you're saying do relate. And I had to make a really conscious effort and put in a lot of work to try to get these three areas, particularly as my children are growing to become a better parent, and it's like becoming a better leader in a business that continues to grow and evolve and go through its own challenges. I think one of the areas that things fall apart is conflict resolution, because we deal with conflict in these three areas in very different ways, and often the conflict that you may have in your life, in your role as a partner, can impact your performance and your relationships in your work or your business. Or children problems, they say that as a parent you're only as happy as your least happy child, or something to that order. These things are all connect into the person that you are. So let's bring it back to conflict resolution, because a lot of times these things blow up because we're not good at handling conflict, and we don't have frameworks, conflict resolution frameworks that work. What are some frameworks that people can use to chill, stand back, and deal with the problems?
Right. Well, first things first, you don't talk under emotions. Usually, if you're very upset, when there are heightened emotional states, like you're very upset, you're angry, you're disappointed, you will not be able to objectively state, one, how you feel, and two, what actually made you feel that way, let alone think about what I would like another person to do to remedy whatever I feel is wrong. So, first of all, we need to step back. And that may be the hardest thing to do, because when you're feeling emotional, you just want to tell the person why they made you so mad or what they did to, wrong you in a certain way. So the first step would be walk away and come back to it when you're calmer. And if that means so that it doesn't look like, somebody's facing you and you just walk away, you can say, look, I do not feel like I can handle this conversation today. Let's leave it for tomorrow, or give me some time to think about it. It does take a lot of control. It does take a lot of practice, but saying it is the first step. Because what happens, why conflicts actually, explode, is because we assume so much. I would assume that you were lazy, you didn't want to do the work, and that's why I am now late with my work. But I never even asked you whether you finished the work that you did. I just know you're late, but I never addressed, so it goes on, like, you didn't do your thing, but I never actually thought to ask why you didn't do your thing. I just know, and then it kind of builds on that. And then as a cherry on top, you say something and I go off, right? That's what usually happens in conflict. It's because we assume. And so instead of assuming, we say, well, or assume the positive. We usually assume the negative, they don't like me, they didn't want to do it, they had something more important, I'm not important to them, anything like that. But what really happens is we should try and say, oh, what if they had a rough day? Or what if something happened at home? Or what if something happened at work, if it's a home situation? So first step is either walk away if you're very emotional, or assume the positive. Assume that something different may have happened. There may be another reason, that because we're very quick to jump to, oh, they mean things. They don't want me to be well, right?
What about leaning into conflict sometimes? Because we can develop a habit from running away from important conversations. We can develop a habit from, not confronting things when they're small before they become into big problems. How do you balance that out?
Oh, you're absolutely right. Right. Thank you for bringing that to our chat. Um, Talking, you know, there are no magical powers that need to happen. But if you're upset, just saying, hey, what you did made me feel, it's like the typical I messages. You did this made me feel like this. I would like you to do X next time. Or even, look, even a typical argument is fine. Conflict is healthy. Not all of it, but some of it is really healthy, because it helps us resolve our difficulties and our differences. So if we disagree, it's fine. We disagree. I shouldn't be shy to not state my opinion because we disagree. It's okay to disagree with somebody. So when we're leaning in, the important thing is not to insult the person, because it's not the person that made you mad, it's a situation that made you upset, or you disagree with my idea, you don't disagree with me as a person. So what we're commenting on is the situation, it's the idea, it's the proposal, the suggestion, whatever it is in question that triggers us. That's what we're commenting on. So if we're leaning in, we're arguing, but we're arguing about a concept, let's say. We're not arguing about how good or bad you are or I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I guess what you're saying is, from a coaching perspective, it's important to read the room. It's important
Mhm.
to before you say what you want to say, understand the node and the point that that person is in, and understand if you're carrying something across from your business into your personal life with your spouse, or from your children into the other one, and often you carry the stresses across, and that's when the blow-ups happen. That's when the problems emerge, and they become bigger and bigger issues. You're saying read the room and understand where that person is before projecting where you are at.
Precisely. And in theory, that's how it should work. In practice, it rarely works that way, but we definitely need to practice. However, even if you argue, even if you say something you shouldn't have said, you can always apologize. And I think that's the part that we forget, and that's why people kind of walk away from conflicts, because they don't want to argue. But it's okay if some things, hopefully not too harsh things, but if things were said, you can always come back and apologize and find a way how to move forward from the situation. It happened, it's in the past, but what you do next is what matters. And what usually happens next is people leave it. And that kind of, it simmers in the background. And then the next time there's an issue, then it becomes worse.
How much does the coaching process help in being able to see these things? How much does being able to plan and reflect on your goals and find clarity on what you want in life help you when it comes to the conflict points, when it comes to switching between the nodes, and when it comes to understanding where that other person is?
It helps a lot. You said it yourself, we in coaching, we work a lot on setting goals that motivate you, understanding what motivates you to keep going, but also setting clear goals. What that means is you know exactly what you want to achieve, you know exactly what outcome you want to see as a result of your goal, etc. You may not know how to get there, and that's totally fine. It's a process, but you have clear outcomes and you know how to measure whether you've been successful or not. You know why it matters to you. So what coaching does is it teaches you to understand yourself better, and with that, you understand your triggers better. You know that there will be situations you're going to explode, and that's fine. But the difference becomes, the difference shows in you understand why you exploded, and you can actually articulate it better when you're apologizing, if you're apologizing. So where coaching steps in is, um, you may not always be able to prevent things, but you know how to handle things later on,
I think the
So
greatest
that's,
I think one of the greatest tragedies with people that find success, that find business, career success, which is very glorified, today. It's almost put up as the ultimate goal in a lot of different cultures. The real tragedy is that a lot of people get to that point at the sacrifice of the other two. And it is the other two that only when it's too late that you realize how important they actually were, because you perhaps didn't have that clarity process, you didn't have that reflection process. And I've spoken about this before, but one of the greatest books I've read, business success books, is from Steve Schwartzman, who's the chairman and the founder of Blackstone, and he talks about a period where he felt that his personal relationships and his family was about to slip away, and it was only when he sought help, when he went through a process that you're talking about, that he was able to hold it all together. and then thrive in all three areas, thrive off the back of that. So that balance, I think, is really important and does really work.
Yeah, it is very important. There's this tool, and you may be familiar with it. It's a very popular one. It's called the Wheel of Life. And it's usually an assessment that we use when we notice that somebody is very much into a particular area of their life. It can be they're buried in business, or they're buried in a personal relationship, or wherever when we notice there's a disbalance and we want to test out our assumptions, sometimes we use this tool. And the tool consists of 6 to 8 different areas of life that are kind of essential for us to feel successful, to feel fulfilled and happy. And so what we do is we ask the person to rate themselves on how happy or how invested they feel in all of these areas. And when they see the results is where they see, maybe you have an 8 in your business life, but then there's a 2 in your personal life, or your partnerships or friendship. So that tells, or your health, even health gets so neglected in this entire process. And so that helps people actually see it, because we kind of know, deep inside, you really know what you're doing. It's a matter of whether you're listening to that inner voice or not, and how much you're paying attention to it. And often we tend to neglect it. So when you see the wheel of life is a good visual representation of where you spend your time. And often that helps people actually sit back and look at what really matters and where they want to improve. And if they are where they want to be, that's totally fine. But it gives them a very nice visual way to see what their life is like when it comes to their availability and dedication.
Well, Snezana, I think we've tried our best to tackle what is a very difficult topic. And I'm sure a lot of people watching and listening to this can relate to it, and they can walk away and contemplate and have a think about how the one person operates and functions in 3 different ways into these important areas, and the harmony that you spoke about, the wheel, making sure that all the components are there so that the wheel can turn over and turn over in a sensible way. Thank you very much again for joining me, and we're starting to do these more often, and I know that they're getting better and better, so the next one I'm sure will be even better.
Thank you so much for having me again. The one thing I would like to leave people with is just remember life runs in parallels. So there are multiple things happening at any given time. It's just a matter of where you want to focus. So yeah, thanks, Peter. I'm looking forward to doing this again. It's been a lot of fun.
Beautiful words. Thanks so much.